Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have something really different on the bench today. I know I say that a lot, but when something weird shows up, I want to show it to you. So let's get to work. Charango, South American 10-string cross between, in my opinion, a cross between a ukulele and a mandolin. I feel like I'm going to break these things whenever I pick them up. Ukuleles. But this is, it kind of sounds like a ukulele, but more like a cross between a ukulele and a mandolin. But it's a traditional South American stringed instrument, obviously. I did some research, and some the customer told me about. They used to be, or traditionally, many years ago, I'm talking centuries ago, they were made out of armadillo shells. And this one looks like it was carved out of a one piece of wood and carved out, hollowed out, and the top glued on. And then this was probably open at some point and then glued in. Pretty intricate little instruments, got inlays. It's not a toy, even though it's small enough for you to think that it is. It's not. Set up like a mandolin, where you have two of the same strings on the low. It's set up G, C, E, A, E. It's missing a string. First he brought it to me and said, just put one string on it. He gave me a whole pack here. And then he goes, well, boy, I'd really like to be able to record with it. I wish it had electronics in it. And I just happen to have something I can put in there and make it work. Where it won't, this thing gets powered up when you plug in the guitar cable to it, right? And the output jack sends over to the amp. And that's what powers this type of system up, with a little piezo style thing in it. No battery, no volume, no control, because there's just no place to put it. And we certainly don't want to hack up this. But what we do have to do is drill a hole in the back. Now, because it's a 10-string, so there's basically 5 string positions on it with 2 in each. The center string is the center line of the instrument, and that's where I'm going to find my center line back here. I'm just going to try to measure and get laterally, we know where we're going to be because of the center string. Laterally meaning left to right, and then horizontally or vertically up and down. I'll have to measure, try to get an eyeball. I'm going to try to just center it and eyeball it where it should be, if that makes any sense at all. So, as usual, the first order of business is, oh, and by the way, we have to drill a hole there, and we have to drill a hole right there to be able to fish this wire and pick up, go down through, get the wire so it comes back out the sound hole, where I can then solder it to the pickup and then fish it through our hole that we drill back here. If any of that makes any sense. I think what I have is the correct drill bit that I want to put here, but I won't know until I get the strings off of it, get the saddle out, and then I'm going to I'm going to use the 2 little center holes for my center line and figure out where I'm going to go to drilling this apart. You start off small, and then you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it needs to get to the fatter diameter, and so that all that comes through the back part, where you plug in your guitar cable, is the smaller threaded piece. But it has to be this diameter, and then that little piece sticks out. And then you put a nut on that, and then a beauty ring to cover everything, right? Yeah, I've done a million of them on acoustic guitars, and now we're going to do one on this little guy. So stand by while I get all the strings off. He gave me a whole set of strings. I'm going to try and save these, but I don't know how that's going to turn out, because just restringing this instrument is going to be fun because there's no other access point. I wish this came out, but it does not. And that little sound hole, you got to put 10 strings through, and they're gut, they're faux gut. They're not nylon. And then you have to get them oriented and try to get them up here where we can grab them and pull them through and continue the restring. Not easy. It's not going to be an easy procedure. So that's why I'm going to try to undo the strings, bundle them all up, and hold them while I perform the other part of the operation. That may or may not work, but we'll get there. Stand by. So a couple of things. I think my plan of saving all these strings so I don't have to fish them all through there and restring the entire instrument has gone completely kerflooey because I just don't think they're going to last. They were all wound wrong. They were not in the right slot. Some of them were wound backwards. Some of them were in the wrong slots. So I'm pretty certain we're going to have to start fresh. And plus, we don't want black and white strings on there. We want them all consistent. I think we're gonna grin and bear it and go all the way. And true to form, just when you don't think anything, is going to surprise you anymore, the saddle breaks as soon as you take it out. Yeah, so we're going to glue that back together. Worst possible case scenario here, this will glue. It's a clean break. I'm going to use some heavy-duty Loctite on it. It just has to sit in there level so that it doesn't move, and that will hold. The bridge and the slot route is perfect. I don't see any issue with this. If I have to make a new one, I'll have to make a new one. That's all. It's really small. It's tiny, but this stuff's pretty good, and I'm sure it will hold it. So let's do it. Always something. You never know what you're going to run into. It's the little instruments I have found that give the most amount of trouble. This is definitely bone. I'd like to keep it on there and original. Don't want any on the top side. I think I'm just going to use that glue to touch the other side. Get it stuck together, which it's already doing. This stuff's pretty instant. It's pretty heavy duty stuff. And then I'll just clean off the squeeze out with a razor blade in a few minutes. You never know what you're going to run into. And of course, the break is right on a string. There's really no slots on this, but it's right where a string runs over it. This stuff usually only takes a minute or so. I'm going to pause quickly and get back to you. So, trying to show you every little step of what's going on here. The saddle cracked and broke into pieces, which is not uncommon. It happens, even on an acoustic guitar. But it was such a clean break, I glued it back together with some pretty serious super glue. I've used all kinds of super glue in that Loctite and the blue jar. That's the best stuff. But there's going to be squeeze out. This side right here, I cleaned it up already, and it's nice and smooth. This side's a little rough. And yep, just go to it, and guess what? If it comes apart, you got to glue it again. But it's pretty solid. And a little bit more, maybe. This is definitely more job than I thought was going to be, but I say it in almost every video, you never know what you're going to run into. I've built cars, I've built guitars. There's always something. There's always something else. And when these little things pop up, you got to know how to fix them. I'm going to get it nice and smooth. Just get the hump off of it. You've seen me do this when you're trying to shave a saddle by hand instead of using a grinder. This is not super aggressive paper. It's only 400 grit. But it'll take enough off, and then you test fit it and make sure that it's going in where it's supposed to live. So when I started, it would not go in because that little globule of glue that's squeezed out, and that stuff is rock hard now. It would not fit in there, right? Now it's going to fit in there just by that little bit of sanding, right? You follow? And once we get it back in where we like it, okay, we're good. And hopefully we don't have to keep doing that over and over and over again. Our next order of business is going to be to drill this small hole. And I believe that this is going to be my drill bit for that. I have found through experience that you can try to measure the pickup that's going to go in there. You can try to measure the wire. You want to go just slightly oversized. If it just fits into the corner, you should be okay. And that's the first moment of truth. And I'm going to do this one first to make sure that I'm going to have the reveal that I want. Putting the pickup in there, correct? And fitting the saddle back on top of it so that we don't have, a really high action issue. And I don't think we will because everything was nice. Oh, and point of interest. While I have it all apart, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to clean up the frets, and go to work on the wood, clean it up really nice because, hey, it's a pretty interesting instrument and every customer deserves the same service, and that's what we're going to get after. So I thought this was going to be an easy peasy one-shot video. We're going to just put this thing in, restring it. Nope, it's going to be a two-parter. Stand by while I get you know what? The drill's right here. Let's just get it done. Let's just get it done. So this is a big leap of faith. You have to just go, okay, I'm going to do it. And just like that, they say. Headphones again. Now, as long as my pickup goes through there, which it does, and it goes easily, this will all be hidden. That hole, you never see it, right? Now, in this particular instance, we have to run the wire through first, pull the wire out through the sound hole, and get our pickup positioned where we want it. Where's my light? Stay with me. Sometimes my grabber tool will get in there and get a hold of it. Sometimes it won't. This is always fun. And this is the fun we're going to have fishing the strings through there too, by the way. Everything. At 10 strings, I'm going to have to fish through there and get them oriented in the direction where I can get a hold of them through this half-sized sound hole, or less than half-sized sound hole. Sometimes you can get a hold of it with the gripper tool. you can. That's all it took. So, yeah, my pickup is now installed. Not completely, but I now have part of it installed. So the Piazzo style part goes down there. The saddle goes on top of that. And here's my pick. Just the right size pick to push that on there. Yahtzee. Always a leap of faith when you do something like this, because the next step is to make sure that your saddle goes in on top of it and it isn't like sitting monstrously high. Because, yeah, you got no way other than shaving down the saddle to lower the action. And sometimes that's what you're going to have to do. And in this particular case, we may have to, because for certain it's going to raise the action. Now, the action was pretty low to begin with. I think we're going to be okay. So our wire is out. The next step is going to be when we return to actually solder this on the output jack. And then we're going to drill that guy. Or drill that guy and then solder that on. In the meantime, we're going to tape that so it doesn't move. Yeah. I don't need to be fishing that out of there 20 times. It always turns into more work than you think. You know what I mean? Yep, I like that. I think we're going to be fine. It's going to be beautiful. Stand by. I got a little bit of measuring and taping to do. I'm going to do that off camera and get my center line here where I want to start drilling my hole. So I am going to attempt to show you how I'm getting my center line point. As if we were stringing up one of the middle strings in one of the middle nut slots to that tuning machine. Okay, I'm just using a piece of twine. We have taken all the strings off, of course. What we're going to do now, there's two string holes there's two string holes for each string. So it's, G, C, E, A, E. So there's two strings for each note that you're plucking an octave. So what I'm doing is tying at the machine, going through the center nut slot, running right down the middle, and then splitting the two holes here to start, right? Then I'm pulling the string, the yarn taut, and coming down, making sure I'm still here between, and coming down the back of the instrument until I'm splitting this perfectly with the design that's in the back. You can measure it, but this has gotten me to exactly where I want to be. And I think I'm within a millimeter or so, that's my little black dot right there that I'm going to drill a hole right there, which is right where the string is. Yeah, I think we're good. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it. So we don't need our twine. As long as you're within, a millimeter or so, it's the same principle as if I were drilling a hole into a virgin 6-string guitar, as it were. This is basically the same thing, just on a much smaller scale. It's interesting. It's different. We already overcame one issue. The saddle broke. We glued it back together. We sanded it down smooth. I am going to show you drilling the first hole. hole has to be the diameter of this output jack. So we measure that. We measure that, and that gives us where we want to get to. And if I'm not mistaken, I've done this before. 13/64 or 17/64 or some crazy ass thing like that. Inches. 0.466. Let's roll with that. What's 0.466? 15/30 seconds. Oh, I was way off. Measure twice, cut 5 times. 0.463, 464, 465. Yeah, we got to get up to 15/30 seconds. So 0.4688 is the closest on the depth chart, the conversion chart. 15/30 seconds. Just to give you an idea where I have to go with this. And I'm not going to show you all of the gory details. That's the size drill bit we have to get to in the back of that instrument. And how do we accomplish that? Well, 15/30 seconds starts here. I'm going to start all the way over here and maybe even smaller, and then go in increments up until I get to it. I've shown this on other videos, drilling holes in acoustic guitars. It's the same principle, and it seems monstrously large, but the only thing that's going to be sticking out is that little bit right there. But it has to be that size. So stand by while I get started. So we start with 19/64, and remember, we have to get all the way up to 15/30 seconds, I think. That's the first one. Then we move to the next size up. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different sizes we have to go through to get to the size we want. And go slow. Each time progressively going to the next size drill bit. This will minimize chip out, walking problems, moving on you, what have you. I am not going to show this entire process. It takes a while, and I have to be slow and methodical and careful every step of the way, and don't skip drill bits if you're going to try this at home. And every once in a while, clean up your mess. You follow? I will be right back. Okay, so off camera, I soldered on the output jack of the wire that we had taped over here. We have our hole completely drilled out, and yeah, I test fitted as I went along until I got it just right. Now, this is the fun part. You have to start to estimate how far that's going to stick through there. Now, how do we get this in through the inside of the instrument and in there? Now remember, the other part of the wire goes to the pickup. We use my little handy dandy homemade tool. We run this through here until we can get my fat little fingers on it. We grab a hold of the output jack and we test fit it. Hopefully it'll pull right through that hole, just like so. And there it is. Now, if I had taken the time to do the right procedure, because I never get this right the first time, but guess what? I estimated it perfect, right? So now we got to get the washer and the nut and give it a tighten. Now, I don't want it sticking out too far, so I'm almost positive I'm going to have to do this more than once. But now what we do is, I took the time to get my nut. I need a washer. Just a flat washer. And technically there should be a lock washer on the inside. And that's why I know I didn't put it on there, and thinking, oh, I'm going to do this 5 times. Probably with my luck, I'll have to take it apart just to put that stupid washer on. I got to get the right size flat washer to fit on there, which is that guy. The fun of all fun stuff. So on goes the washer. And remember, we're keeping this on there just to hold our output jack in the hole that we just drilled. Make sure this washer fits. I don't know, is it the right size? Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Why? Because my name is Blackjack. That's why these things only happen to me. So I need to get a flat washer bigger diameter than that, which is... that one's got a tab on it. That one looks the same. Oh, this could take forever. It's always fun. The washer lottery. Oh, there's one right there. This guy right there. Yeah, sure, why not? Just to save the wood, put a flat washer on. And you fish that down the wire. Get it on there. Then fish the nut. I did test fit the nut. I had the foresight to at least do that. Now, sometimes these will pull all the way through and not want to start because they'll get some dirt in the threads or wood chip in the thread. But in this case, we're golden. I can already tell there's too much sticking out because when I put the beauty ring on there, it's probably not gonna stick out too far. You see what we're doing here. Let me see if I can illustrate this. Right? Washer, nut, and then beauty ring. Now, once you get to this juncture, you've test fitted it, you can pull that out, your tool, and just kind of test fit your, don't tighten anything. If it isn't sticking through enough, which in this case, I got it absolutely perfect. Which means I have to take the whole thing apart just to put a lock washer on it. You follow? But I'm going to pause there. We got a lot done today. A lot more than I thought we would. I still have to clean up the frets and do the instrumentation on this guitar. And of course, or guitar. I mean, it's called the Chupacabra? No, Charango. It's always something. Right? Got a lot of work to do, instrumentation, restringing, but this is actually hooked up and we can probably test it. Should we do that before the end of this video? Because boy, that would be heartbreaking if it doesn't work. Right? Bing, bang, boom. Turn it on. Let's see. Yahtzee. I'm sure the microphone is picking up on that. It works. I know it worked when I took it out of the guitar that I took it out of. We're going to pause there. We're going to stop there. That's part 1. I am not going to show cleaning up the frets and doing all that stuff, but what I'm going to do is pull this back out off camera, put the locking washer, which I thought, oh, I'm going to do this 5 times, so I can wait to do that. But I got the measurement exactly right, perfect. So all I have to do is take it out, back that inside nut a little bit just to make up for the thickness of the lock washer. And that's important because these things come loose from putting guitar cables in and out. If you don't put that little stupid lock washer on there, it will come loose, and it will come loose sooner more than later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support. The Charango, I keep wanting to call it a Charango. It's a Charango. Charango is a little town in upstate New York, close by where I grew up, so funny stuff. Charango, South American instrument that goes, a lot of history, goes way back. We're treating it just like a guitar because basically it's a string instrument that a lot of the same principles apply to. So we'll talk soon. Thanks for hanging in there. If you dig what I'm doing, you know what to do.